What's going on? It's Marco back here with another video, and I figured today maybe we could go over some of the custom tools that I've had to make over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in the trade. Just different things I found work for the job when you can't get a proper tool on, nut, bolt, whatever it is. So yeah, we'll walk you guys through a little collection of what I've made over the last few years. So yeah. Okay guys, so here's the first, I guess you could consider it one, that was one tool, but it's now two. 15/16 wrench. I don't remember 100% why I drilled a hole through it, to be honest. I can't remember, but I do remember that there was a bolt that I couldn't get a full-size wrench in. It was for, I can't even remember, but all I remember is that you can get some turns like this, and then you have to switch back to this and put the clothes in, and it's perfect because it's perfect hand size. You go, you know, kind of quick. But yeah, the low profile, and the reason why I ground this down is because it was sharp. So I didn't want to keep, I don't like really wearing gloves when I work because I find it's just, I don't know, it's just a personal preference thing, I guess. But anyway, so this is why I had to modify this as a bolt. I think it was like in a frame or something that I couldn't exactly get a full-size wrench. So yeah, still have no idea why I drilled the hole through there, but there's a hole through there. Anyway, that's the first one. The second one was in one of the other videos I think we did. But anyway, this is like a seal driver bearing driver kit. And this one right here, there was a bushing. You can see like how I took it to the bench grinder. We just had to grind it down ever so slightly, just to take a little bit of the edge off of there. There was a bushing that we had to drive out, and I would know it had the right size thing. So we had to grind it down, make sure that it would fit for what we were doing. I can't remember 100% what it was for now, but anyway, had to grind that down and modify that a little bit. Next thing is on here is, I guess we can go, this was just recently actually. If you look, you can see, well, you can't really, but it's kind of like, anyway, this wrench is all sorts of messed up because we have a backhoe here and there was a hydraulic line that blew and it was leaking. And of course it was a 1-inch, and I couldn't buy a stubby 1-inch wrench at the time. And I didn't want to sacrifice my good 1-inch wrench here. So I just took the Mastercraft 1-inch wrench. So I heated it, I had to cut it, and then I re-welded it. Then I had to heat it again and bend it. So this is what it looks like. And then I could easily, I can't remember. No, I had to go like this because it was right behind the cab of the backhoe. And then like there was like this much space, and there was like a kind of hole. So I had to, anyway, it worked great. And now I'll have this. I'll probably never need this one again, but I have it for now. Next thing here, this is this is a 1-inch Mac tool socket. It was a spare one that I had in my toolbox actually. So what the story about this socket was, so my Snap-on one here, I had ruined the end of it, and I didn't have a file at the time, so I couldn't fix inside there, so I had to buy another socket. So anyway, I bought the socket, and then I never even actually used this socket because I actually ended up fixing that one the day after I bought this one. So I was like, what can I use this socket for? So if anyone works on semis, you'll know that, like, well, the manual semis anyway, they use a thing called a clutch brake, and a lot of them come factory with like a one piece from what I've seen. So sometimes when you have to replace the one piece, it's kind of tricky unless you like literally pull the transmission out of the truck. It's kind of tricky. So what I do is I'll get a 1/2-inch extension here, go through the inspection hole with my 1/2-inch gun, put it on, so then the clutch brake will sit in here like this, and then either tighten it with my gun or turn it, and it breaks free almost every single time. And it just literally breaks it in half, and it comes down, you put your one piece on, clip it in, and that's it. So this tool has helped me a bunch of times already, and I'm sure going forward it will as well. So we can go to the next one here. Well, it obviously was part of a tape measure that it broke literally right at like the 1 foot mark. And I was like, okay, well, this is still good. So what I do with this, so I tape the end of it because the end's sharp. So what I do is, the reason why I made this, so when a driver's, you know, when he comes into the shop or whatever, I'll bring this down with me and I'll have him put his foot on the brake pedal with the brakes released, and I'll see how far the push rod travels. If it's maximum 3-inch travel, then it's good. But if it's anything past 3 inches, then you know, depending on the specific application or whatever it is, what it calls for, that's why I have this. I bring it down, measure it, make sure it's good. If it's within spec, then it's good. If it's not, then I have to readjust the brake. Next thing is this here. Now I know this is, some people might actually know what this is. Maybe some of the older guys, or maybe even some of the younger guys too. If you know what this is, put a comment down. But if you don't know, I'm going to explain it to you anyway. So essentially what this is it's 3/8 like a rubber air hose with a, I can't never remember the word, neoprene maybe, I think, glad hand rubber, like for glad hands. And so essentially what I use this for is on semi trucks, when you're replacing the Davco filter and you can't get the diesel to pour in the top of the filter, what I do is I unscrew the cap, and this sits perfectly on the top. And I drilled a hole in here. So I'll put my air gun in here like this, connect the air line, and I'll pull and I'll push, like I'll pull the trigger down, which creates a vacuum in the fuel system, and it sucks fuel out of the tank into the Davco filter, and then it exhausts the air out of here. Once you're done, take it off, screw the cap on, then you have a pre-filled Davco filter every time. A guy I used to work with showed me that trick, and it's the best little trick someone's ever shown me. It's fantastic. It works every single time. So I highly recommend, if you are having issues filling Davcos, make something like this, because this thing is fantastic. Moving on, this here, this is just like a bit for an air hammer. It was, actually I can show you here, it was the same, it wasn't like this on the end, but it was this long. I can't remember what was on the end of here. Anyway, I cut it off because, if some of you guys know, for when you're doing kingpins, they have that little, like that little wedge bolt that goes through, and you screw a nut on the end of it to hold it in place. You know that they always get seized and stuff. So what I did was I just cut this so I can get in there with the air hammer and knock it out like that, instead of using a punch and whatever. Just heat it up, one clean shot, and it's literally the perfect size. I haven't really found another use for this yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. Anyway, moving on. This is more of like, these are more for like brakes, like doing brakes and whatever. So this one here, this was just a regular pry bar. And then this is like my oldest pry bar set, so I figure I can sacrifice the end. I don't really care. So I made a notch in it like this way. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about, there's different style of brake shoes you can get for semis. And one of them it's like an Eaton style. So they have like the springs at the top, and there's about this much part of the spring and they're kind of hard to hook in. So what I thought was going to work was, so I made a notch. So what I do is I'll put the hook of the spring in here, and you just push down, and it goes into the brake shoe every single time. It's pretty nice, and it also doubles as a pry bar. It's got a nice little striking head, but I find you just like put your body weight on it, like you hook the spring in here, and it goes in pretty much every single time. It's fantastic. Another brake tool that I made. This is like one of the oldest tools in my toolbox. And I found this pry bar in scrap bin at a place I used to work. I don't know why. Oh, it's because I can't do it now, but this handle, it was like broken. Anyway, so I made 2 notches here. So I'm sure if people know what I'm talking about. So basically you hook the top part of the spring on your shoe, and it hangs down, and you put the other part of the spring. I wish I had one here I could show you. And anyway, you just put your body weight, hook it in every single time. It works. And I don't care, everyone, I've always seen that bullshit using the chain and hooking the big spring in first. Yeah, okay, those work, I get it. But in my personal opinion, I find putting the side springs on last always is better, in my opinion. But that's just me. Keeping on the whole brake tool section, this is an old screwdriver. I ended up breaking the tip off of it a while ago. I don't even remember how. Anyway, I broke the tip off it. So what I did was I just ground it down. So when I'm taking brake shoes off, and yeah, I know I could use it like a little, I could use this little pry bar here. It would do the same thing. But I find that this thing is so low profile that if you're taking off old brake springs, you can get right behind the spring, one hit, and it comes right off. Like it's great. And like I said, I understand you can use other things, but for me, this is what I've always used and it works, so I'll just keep using it. Next, wouldn't say this is really custom. This is like an old Snap-on screwdriver. I ended up breaking the tip off of it because I was using it as a pry bar, but you're not supposed to. Anyway, so if you see like there's some like notches from like a die grinder in here. So what I was shown by my old boss, what he showed me was, if you have like an air-to-air boot, like from the turbo to the rad, sometimes on Volvos, like they're a press fit clamp, so you can't remove it with like a socket or whatever. So what I do is I stick this underneath the piece of steel, and then I cut it right along the edge, so you don't cut the boot and you save the boot. Yeah, okay, maybe you sacrifice a screwdriver, but this is an old screwdriver. I don't care if it got ruined anyway. So yeah, anyway, so you basically, so the clamp's here, so you'll put this part underneath like that, and you can cut the clamp, and if you cut through a little farther like I did here, and it won't ruin the boot, which it didn't, and to my knowledge right now the truck is still driving on the road. So that was a while ago, but it works, right? So next we have, I'm sure some people will know exactly what these are used for, but essentially what I use these two for here, so these were bolts, like 3/8 bolts. I cut the heads off of them, made a little notch, so you can put a flathead screwdriver. It doesn't have to be this big, but so you can put a flathead screwdriver in it, turn it in. So what I use these for when I'm doing clutches on trucks and stuff like that, what I'll do is actually, I think it's actually these two. I'll thread these two in wherever the clutch is going to want to line up, so when I hang the clutch on, it'll catch and I'm not sitting there, you know, like breaking my back trying to put on. I can just hang it up and I can put 2 bolts in, and that's it. It's fantastic. That's why I put the little slit in there for the screwdriver, so you can turn them in and back them out. And then these smaller ones are for like the inside when you pull the shifter out. There's like the detents inside. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, like where the shifter actually lines up into the top of the transmission. I thread these into the top, like in like either corner, so that when you're putting the shifter on, it doesn't wobble and it doesn't ruin the gasket, because I've ruined so many like tower gaskets like that. So I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I just made those, line them up, put the other 2 bolts in, and that's it. And you screw them out, no problem. And ever since I made these, I've never ruined one since. I'll save these 3 for last, because I feel like if you're going to be a mechanic, these 3, in my opinion, are things that you should have in your toolbox at all times. The first one, we'll start with this, is just like a little mobile air pressure gauge. You know, so this can literally be used for anything. Like you can put a different end on, like you can put like a quick connect fitting on the end if you want. I just put a compression one here because that's all I had. But yeah, so like, you know, if you need to check how much air is going to a brake chamber, a valve, like whatever it could be, it's always nice to have one of these in your toolbox just in case you need one, which I needed one a couple weeks ago, and I had one and I used it. It was fantastic. The next thing is, this is a custom tool I made. It's just like my own little 5th wheel puller, because my shop never had one for the longest time, so I had to make one. So yeah, I just got I don't even remember how long this piece, anyway, it was just a long piece of steel, made a bunch of bends, and it pulls the 5th, it just pulls out. I always hang it here on the side of my toolbox, but I think everyone should have one of them. If you don't, I suggest getting one. And then the last thing, this for sure for me, in my opinion, if anyone was like wondering what things I would recommend, making one of these is like, because you know like how it goes, you know, you work in a shop and you have like 5 guys that need the same glad hand to air up a trailer. If you have your own, it's fantastic. You put it on the emergency side, hook your air line, open it up, and the air goes through it. You can release your brakes, adjust the brakes, whatever you need to do. But yeah, I think I bought this ball valve at Princess Auto. I think it was like $10 or like less than $10. This came off of an old truck because the driver wanted a nice custom fancy one. So I'm like, oh, it's still good, I'll keep it. And then yeah, whatever air fitting your shop uses, you just put your own air fitting on the end. But yeah, this, I highly recommend having one of these, because it has saved my ass more than once, and I'm sure it will more than once again in the future. So that's what I have. Now I'd like to see, or sorry, not like to see, I would like to know what you guys have. So if you guys want to like comment of other things you think I should make, or stuff that's helped you out, put it down in the comments. Or if you, I don't know if you can attach pictures in the comments for stuff that you guys have made, like show me whatever. Like I'd love to see, so that I can know, so if I need it or if I run into the situation, I can make one. So if you guys have any recommendations on that, let me know. And if you guys want to see any other types of videos, maybe I don't know, like we can do lots here. So whatever you guys want to see, just let us know and we can figure out something. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.